In today's video, you will get tips about how to pass the SAA-C03 AWS Certified Solutions Architect, Associate. What is SAA-C03 AWS Certified Solutions Architect, Associate? Who should take this exam? Content outline. 1. An application runs on an Amazon EC2 instance in a VPC. The application processes logs that are stored in an Amazon S3 bucket. The EC2 instance needs to access the S3 bucket without connectivity to the Internet. Which solution will provide private network connectivity to Amazon S3? A. Create a gateway VPC endpoint to the S3 bucket. B. Stream the logs to Amazon CloudWatch logs. Export the logs to the S3 bucket. C. Create an instance profile on Amazon EC2 to allow S3 access. D. Create an Amazon API Gateway API with a private link to access the S3 endpoint. Answer: A. 2. A company recently migrated to AWS and wants to implement a solution to protect the traffic that flows in and out of the production VPC. The company had an inspection server in its on-premises data center. The inspection server performed specific operations such as traffic flow inspection and traffic filtering. The company wants to have the same functionalities in the AWS cloud. Which solution will meet these requirements? A. Use Amazon GuardDuty for traffic inspection and traffic filtering in the production VPC. B. Use traffic mirroring to mirror traffic from the production VPC for traffic inspection and filtering. C. Use AWS Network Firewall to create the required rules for traffic inspection and traffic filtering for the production VPC. D. Use AWS Firewall Manager to create the required rules for traffic inspection and traffic filtering for the production VPC. Answer: C. 3. A company is implementing a new business application. The application runs on 2 Amazon EC2 instances and uses an Amazon S3 bucket for document storage. A solutions architect needs to ensure that the EC2 instances can access the S3 bucket. What should the solutions architect do to meet this requirement? A. Create an IAM role that grants access to the S3 bucket. Attach the role to the EC2 instances. B. Create an IAM policy that grants access to the S3 bucket. Attach the policy to the EC2 instances. C. Create an IAM group that grants access to the S3 bucket. Attach the group to the EC2 instances. D. Create an IAM user that grants access to the S3 bucket. Attach the user account to the EC2 instances. Answer: A. 4. A company that hosts its web application on AWS wants to ensure all Amazon EC2 instances, Amazon RDS-DB instances, and Amazon Redshift clusters are configured with tags. The company wants to minimize the effort of configuring and operating this check. What should a solutions architect do to accomplish this? A. Use AWS config rules to define and detect resources that are not properly tagged. B. Use Cost Explorer to display resources that are not properly tagged. Tag those resources manually. C. Write API calls to check all resources for proper tag allocation. Periodically run the code on an EC2 instance. D. Write API calls to check all resources for proper tag allocation. Schedule an AWS Lambda function through Amazon CloudWatch to periodically run the code. Answer: A. 5. A company is hosting a static website on Amazon S3 and is using Amazon Route 53 for DNS. The website is experiencing increased demand from around the world. The company must decrease latency for users who access the website. Which solution meets these requirements most cost-effectively? A. Replicate the S3 bucket that contains the website to all AWS regions. Add Route 53 geolocation routing entries. B. Provision accelerators in AWS Global Accelerator. Associate the supplied IP addresses with the S3 bucket. Edit the Route 53 entries to point to the IP addresses of the accelerators. C. Add an Amazon CloudFront distribution in front of the S3 bucket. Edit the Route 53 entries to point to the CloudFront distribution. D. Enable S3 transfer acceleration on the bucket. Edit the Route 53 entries to point to the new endpoint. Answer: C. 6. A company runs a highly available image processing application on Amazon EC2 instances in a single VPC. The EC2 instances run inside several subnets across multiple availability zones. The EC2 instances do not communicate with each other, however. The EC2 instances download images from Amazon S3 and upload images to Amazon S3 through a single NAT gateway. The company is concerned about data transfer charges. What is the most cost-effective way for the company to avoid regional data transfer charges? A. Launch the NAT gateway in each availability zone. B. Replace the NAT gateway with a NAT instance. C. Deploy a gateway VPC endpoint for Amazon S3. D. Provision an EC2 dedicated host to run the EC2 instances. Answer: A. 7. A company has an on-premises application that generates a large amount of time-sensitive data that is backed up to Amazon S3. The application has grown and there are user complaints about internet bandwidth limitations. A solutions architect needs to design a long-term solution that allows for both timely backups to Amazon S3 and with minimal impact on internet connectivity for internal users. Which solution meets these requirements? A. Establish AWS VPN connections and proxy all traffic through a VPC gateway endpoint. B. Establish a new AWS Direct Connect connection and direct backup traffic through this new connection. C. Order daily AWS Snowball devices, load the data onto the Snowball devices and return the devices to AWS each day. D. Submit a support ticket through the AWS Management Console. Request the removal of S3 service limits from the account. Answer: B. 8. A company needs guaranteed Amazon EC2 capacity in 3 specific availability zones in a specific AWS region for an upcoming event that will last 1 week. What should the company do to guarantee the EC2 capacity? A. Purchase reserved instances that specify the region needed. B. Create an on-demand capacity reservation that specifies the region needed. C. Purchase reserved instances that specify the region and 3 availability zones needed. D. Create an on-demand capacity reservation that specifies the region and 3 availability zones needed. Answer: D. 9. A solutions architect is designing a new hybrid architecture to extend a company's on-premises infrastructure to AWS. The company requires a highly available connection with consistent low latency to an AWS region. The company needs to minimize costs and is willing to accept slower traffic if the primary connection fails. What should the solutions architect do to meet these requirements? A. Provision an AWS Direct Connect connection to a region. Provision a VPN connection as a backup if the primary Direct Connect connection fails. B. Provision a VPN tunnel connection to a region for private connectivity. Provision a second VPN tunnel for private connectivity and as a backup if the primary VPN connection fails. C. Provision an AWS Direct Connect connection to a region. Provision a second Direct Connect connection to the same region as a backup if the primary Direct Connect connection fails. D. Provision an AWS Direct Connect connection to a region. Use the Direct Connect failover attribute from the AWS CLI to automatically create a backup connection if the primary Direct Connect connection fails. Answer: A. 10. A company's dynamic website is hosted using on-premises servers in the United States. The company is launching its product in Europe, and it wants to optimize site loading times for new European users. The site's backend must remain in the United States. The product is being launched in a few days, and an immediate solution is needed. What should the solutions architect recommend? A. Launch an Amazon EC2 instance in ES1 and migrate the site to it. B. Move the website to Amazon S3. Use cross-region replication between regions. C. Use Amazon CloudFront with a custom origin pointing to the on-premises servers. D. Use an Amazon Route 53 geo-proximity routing policy pointing to on-premises servers. Answer: C. 11. A company uses Amazon S3 to store its confidential audit documents. The S3 bucket uses bucket policies to restrict access to audit team IAM user credentials according to the principle of least privilege. Company managers are worried about accidental deletion of documents in the S3 bucket and want a more secure solution. What should a solutions architect do to secure the audit documents? A. Enable the versioning and MFA delete features on the S3 bucket. B. Enable multi-factor authentication, MFA, on the IAM user credentials for each audit team IAM user account. C. Add an S3 lifecycle policy to the audit team's IAM user accounts to deny the S3 delete object action during audit dates. D. Use AWS Key Management Service, AWS, to encrypt the S3 bucket and restrict audit team IAM user accounts from accessing the KMS key. Answer: A. 12. A company has applications that run on Amazon EC2 instances in a VPC. One of the applications needs to call the Amazon S3 API to store and read objects. According to the company's security regulations, no traffic from the applications is allowed to travel across the Internet. Which solution will meet these requirements? A. Configure an S3 interface endpoint. B. Configure an S3 gateway endpoint. C. Create an S3 bucket in a private subnet. D. Create an S3 bucket in the same region as the EC2 instance. Answer: B. 13. A company is storing sensitive user information in an Amazon S3 bucket. The company wants to provide secure access to this bucket from the application tier running on AMA2 on EC2 instances inside a VPC. Which combination of steps should a solutions architect take to accomplish this? Select 2. A. Configure a VPC gateway endpoint for Amazon S3 within the VPC. B. Create a bucket policy to make the objects to the S3 bucket public. C. Create a bucket policy that limits access to only the application tier running in the VPC. D. Create an IAM user with an S3 access policy and copy the IAM credentials to the EC2 instance. E. Create a NAT instance and have the EC2 instances use the NAT instance to access the S3 bucket. Answer: A, C. 14. A company wants to migrate an on-premises data center to AWS. The data center hosts an SFTP server that stores its data on an NFS-based file system. The server holds 200 gigabytes of data that needs to be transferred. The server must be hosted on an Amazon EC2 instance that uses an Amazon Elastic File System, Amazon EFS, file system. When combination of steps should a solutions architect take to automate this task? Select 2. A. Launch the EC2 instance into the same availability zone as the EFS file system. B. Install an AWS DataSync agent in the on-premises data center. C. Create a secondary Amazon Elastic Block Store, Amazon EBS, volume on the EC2 instance. Store the data. D. Manually use an operating system copy command to push the data to the EC2 instance. E. Use AWS DataSync to create a suitable location configuration for the on-premises SFTP server. Answer: B, E. 15. A company wants to build a scalable key management infrastructure to support developers who need to encrypt data in their applications. What should a solutions architect do to reduce the operational burden? A. Use multi-factor authentication, MFA, to protect the encryption keys. B. Use AWS Key Management Service, AWS, to protect the encryption keys. C. Use AWS Certificate Manager, ACM, to create, store, and assign the encryption keys. D. Use an IAM policy to limit the scope of users who have access permissions to protect the encryption keys. Answer: B. Subscribe SeekExams for more hot exams.